Hello, it's Gill Fielding here, and this is what's caught my eye in the media this week. Well, we started off with a fantastic win from Raducanu in the US tennis championships, and what a wonderful, uplifting event that was. But what has surprised me is the media this week in response to that. Not many people are talking about her wonderful backhand or a phenomenal serve. What they're talking about is the amount of money she can possibly earn from endorsements and sponsorships. And I find that interesting because we wouldn't have done that 10 or 20 years ago. We would have only talked about her tennis. And of course, if we think about her as a woman, I don't think when she's trying to practice on a wet Wednesday, is she ever thinking, oh, if I hit this ball 50 times, I'm then going to make another million. What she's thinking is, I'm going to hit this ball 50 times and be a better tennis player. So she's focused on the tennis and becoming the best player she can possibly be, and not on the financial outcome. But of course, if you're the best player you can possibly be, then the money will tend to follow. So I always think it's about following the mission, your purpose, and being the best at what you can be, and then the money will generally follow that, and you'll find some way of making the money to support your mission. So it's an odd twist. It's not one I've seen before about the huge amount of pipe on how much money she's going to earn. Let's focus on the tennis, shall we? That's the good thing about it. Now, Raducanu is probably never going to have to get a job in the traditional sense, but the figures were announced this week showing that we've now got over 1 million job vacancies in the UK, and that compares to an unemployment rate of 1.6 million people. Now, bearing in mind some people will never work or can't work or are just in between jobs, what that means is that broadly there is a job for everybody that's looking, and I've never seen that in my lifetime, that we have effectively full employment. And it just goes to show that if you're prepared to do a job, it might not be the perfect one, but if you're prepared to do a job, there is a job out there for everybody. And that's really encouraging and a positive piece of news. And also it sways the employment market. Employers have got to be better. They've got to pay more, they've got to be more flexible, they've got to be more accommodating, and I think they've got to be more friendly. And that's good overall, because I think it makes a better employers as well. So well done, everybody, get a job. Now, spending a penny, I read this week about the fact that we've lost all of our 1p pieces, to the extent that the Royal Mint is having to produce more than they've ever produced before. Now, what are we doing with all those pennies? I mean, I know you lose them in your coat and your handbag and down the back of the sofa, but honestly, what are we doing with them? It's quite interesting because they're not planning to mint any more 2p's or £2 coins. So it's only the penny. What are people doing saving all the pennies? They're virtually worthless. And I suppose that's the issue. They're losing them and throwing them away because they are basically worthless. But I'm not terribly sure why we need to keep minting them. But anyway, we're short of 1p pieces. And in any case, 1p wouldn't get you access to a toilet these days, which is where the phrase came from. So if you want to spend a penny, you'll need more than a penny. Influencers. Now, I don't really understand what influencers do, and I'm not very hot on social media and influence in the main, but the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, have suddenly put aside £11 million for an influencers-driven awareness campaign about investments. Now, what's happened here is that a certain number of influencers have been recommending share selections, investment selections, that kind of stuff, obviously with no prior knowledge or education at all, and forgetting to mention that actually they're paid a commission to do so, and they're making some personal financial gain from it. And this has bothered the FCA because apparently 45% of all 18 to 29-year-olds are now investing in cryptocurrency, which is a difficult investment to make. And in the main, they're putting that investment on credit cards and loans, student loans, that kind of stuff. So they're getting into debt to invest in something that they don't understand. So in order to counter this, the FCA have jumped on the influencers bandwagon, and they're now recruiting influencers to tell people to be a bit more careful, to get educated about investing before you start, and don't just jump in because some luscious-lipped, lovely influencer has recommended it. So I suppose it had to happen that even the FCA of recruiting influencers. Now, one thing that has amazed me and amused me all week is Good Morning Britain, the ITV TV show, launched a new prize draw this week. And it's called the £1 million decision, because you can either choose to win £1 million or £10,000 a month for 10 years, which, if you add that all up together, comes to 1.2 million. So on the surface, it looks like the £10,000 per month offer is the better deal. But of course it isn't. If you took the £1 million and invested it, say, at 10%, in the 10 years that the £10,000 would be paid, your £1 million would turn into over 2.5 million if you let all the interest roll up and compound. So your 1 million could turn into 2.5 million. And even if you didn't compound it and you just spent the 10% earnings, that would be £8,333 a month, so almost the same, and you'd still have your £1 million at the end. Or why don't you do what I do, which is invest it at 12%, and then you'd get the £10,000 every single month forever, and you'd still have your £1 million left over. So actually taking the £1 million up front is by far the best offer and the best choice and the best option. And taking the £10,000 per month is the wrong decision. And never has it been so blunt and so blatant and so obvious that people who don't have financial knowledge and education, like I have, so I know where to invest my money at 10% or 12%, but people who don't know how to invest, they don't know where to get those returns, and they don't know what it means, they don't have any financial education. Never has it been so absolutely blindingly obvious that people who do not have financial education end up making the wrong decisions and being poorer as a result. So let's learn that lesson this week. Keep safe.